Jason slowly opened his eyes. The light above him was not the sun. It was blue, cold, and blinking like a machine. He was lying on a metal floor, his back aching, his head spinning. There was a low humming sound around him, and the air smelled strange. Not like Earth. He sat up slowly and looked around. The room was small, made of silver walls, glowing lines running through them like veins. What is this place? He whispered. The last thing he remembered was walking home from work. A flash in the sky, then darkness. Now he was here, in some kind of spaceship. Suddenly, the door in front of him hissed open. Jason jumped to his feet, heart racing. Figures. Walked in, tall and strange, with smooth gray skin and glowing eyes. They were not human, but they were not hostile. They stood on both sides of the door like guards. Then came silence, and she entered. She was taller than the others, wearing a long black robe with silver patterns. A crown floated above her head, not touching her, spinning slowly. Her eyes were bright gold, and her face calm but powerful. She walked forward with grace, like a queen. Jason didn't know what to do. Should he run? Should he bow? Should he speak? But before he could move, the impossible happened. The queen stopped right in front of him. She looked into his eyes, then dropped to her knees. She bowed her head. The guards behind her gasped and dropped to one knee. As well, Jason froze, confused and shocked. What's going on? He said, voice shaking. The queen spoke, her voice soft but clear. You have returned, she said. The one has returned, Jason blinked. What? Returned? I've never been here before. The queen looked up, her face showing something strange. Fear, hope, and respect. She stood slowly and signaled the guards to leave. They obeyed without question. You do not know your name, the queen said. But the stars do, Jason frowned. My name is Jason. I'm from Earth. The queen tilted her head. Earth, she whispered. The lost world. Jason shook his head, trying to stay calm. Look, I don't know what's happening, but I just want to go home. You cannot, the queen said. Not yet. She turned and walked toward a glowing window. Jason followed slowly, still unsure if this was a dream or a trap. Outside the window, he saw space. Stars, planets, and massive ships floating in the dark. He had truly left Earth. The queen turned to him again. Thousands of years ago, a being like you came from the stars, she said. He stopped the war that burned half the galaxy. Jason listened, trying to understand. He vanished, she continued, but he promised to return. In another form, when the galaxy was in danger again. And you think that's me? Jason asked. We know, she said. Your presence woke the core, something only the one can do. Jason looked at his hands, then back at her. I'm just a normal guy. I work in IT. I hate Mondays. The queen smiled slightly. Even gods were men before they rose. Suddenly, a loud alarm echoed through the room. Red lights flashed, and the queen's face turned serious. She pressed her finger on a glowing pad and spoke in her alien language. Then she looked at Jason again. They know you are here, she said. Not all will welcome your return. Who's they? Jason asked. The council, she said, and others who fear the old legends. Jason took a deep breath. This was getting worse by the second. I'm not ready for this, he said. The queen stepped closer. No one ever is, she said. But you must pass the test of the ancients. What happens if I fail? Then the galaxy will fall, and so will you. Jason stared at her, mind spinning with questions, fear, and doubt. How did he get here? Why him? What was this test? Before he could speak again, 2 armored guards rushed in. One of them held a strange glowing cube. He must be tested, the guard said. The queen nodded slowly. Jason looked at the cube. Feeling heat from it, even from a distance, he stepped back. What does it do? He asked. If you are truly the one, the queen said, it will not burn you. Jason looked at the cube again, then at the queen. He had no idea what was happening. But one thing was clear. There was no turning back now. He reached out his hand. The cube began to glow brighter. Everyone held their breath. Then the cube burned like a small sun in front of him. Soldiers stood ready, weapons raised, waiting for him to scream, but Jason didn't scream. He didn't even flinch. The fire danced across his hand, and his skin didn't melt. Instead, the cube stopped glowing and began to pulse like a heartbeat. The queen whispered something in a forgotten language. The cube had chosen. But what did that mean? Jason had passed the first test, but now others were watching, and not all of them wanted him alive. Main story begins. Jason stood still, his hand glowing slightly. The cube floated above his palm, light fading slowly around him. The alien guards were frozen, their faces tense. The queen stepped forward, her golden eyes locked on him. "The ancients accept you," she said, voice soft. Jason looked down at the cube, then back at her. "I don't understand what's happening," he said. "That thing didn't burn me, but—" "I'm not special." "You are," the queen said. "But now you must prove it." A door opened behind her, leading into a massive hallway glowing with blue lines. "The real test begins now," she said. Jason followed, unsure of every step. The hallway was huge, with alien carvings on the walls, strange creatures, battles, and stars falling from the sky. "This place," the queen said, "was built by the first humans to cross the stars." Jason blinked. There were humans before. "US?" She nodded. "They were more than explorers. They were builders of peace and destroyers of chaos." Jason looked at the carvings again. One of them looked like him, or at least had human features holding the same cube. He shivered. The hallway opened into a giant circular room, with floating stones and glowing rings. In the air, "This is the chamber of the ancients," the queen said. Suddenly, the floor beneath Jason glowed, forming a symbol beneath his feet. "What do I do?" Jason asked, heart pounding. "Survive," she said, and stepped back. The door behind him shut with a loud thud. The chamber lights shifted to red. Jason spun around, the cube now floating in front of him. A voice filled the room, deep and ancient, human. "DNA match confirmed," it said, commencing internal challenge. "What challenge?" Jason said, backing away. Suddenly, 3 shadow-like creatures appeared, floating in the air. They had no faces, only bright eyes and sharp limbs. One rushed at him, fast like lightning. Jason dove to the side, heart racing. He had no weapon, no training, no idea what was going on. Another shadow lunged, but this time, Jason raised his hands, and a strange blue shield appeared. He gasped. "Is this from the cube?" he said, shocked. The voice spoke again. Instinct response confirmed. Jason realized he wasn't fighting with weapons. He was fighting with willpower. When he felt fear, he got weaker. When he felt calm and focused, the shield grew stronger. The third shadow creature struck him, knocking him back. He hit the ground hard, groaning. Then he remembered something. The child he once saved from drowning back on Earth. The moment he chose to act, even when scared, he stood up. Thinking about that moment, the cube responded, glowing again, and releasing a shockwave that blasted the shadows into pieces. The room fell silent. The red lights faded to white. Jason dropped to one knee, breathing hard. The cube returned to his hand. "Cool now," the voice returned. "Challenge complete. Emotional memory match. Approved." The door opened again, and the queen walked in, smiling for the first time. "You used no weapons," she said. "Only choice and courage." Jason stood slowly, still confused but proud. "I don't understand everything, but I didn't want to die in there." "You didn't just survive," she said. "You awakened a power we thought was lost." Jason looked at his hand, still glowing a little. "Is this magic?" he asked. "No," she said. "It's humanity." Suddenly, alarms echoed again, louder than before. The queen's face changed, fear this time. A soldier ran in, speaking fast in the alien language. The queen turned to Jason. "They know you." "Pass the test," she said. "The High Council will now act." "Act how?" Jason asked. They will try to kill you. Jason's heart sank. I thought passing the test would help. It did, she said. But power always brings enemies. Then, what do we do? She looked at him with cold fire in her eyes. We prepare for war. The knife stopped just 1 inch from his throat. Jason didn't blink. The assassin's hand was shaking, his eyes wide. What are you? The alien whispered. Jason grabbed the assassin's wrist and twisted, forcing the weapon to the floor. Before anyone could speak, alarms blared and doors slammed shut. This wasn't a test anymore. This was war, and it had already started from the inside. Main story begins. Jason stared at the alien on the floor. He wasn't just any guard. He was wearing royal armor, one of the Queen's own soldiers. Jason looked up at her, confused and angry. Your own people are trying to kill me, he said, breathing hard. The Queen's face was pale, her eyes full of worry. I feared this would happen, she said. Not all believe in the prophecy. Jason sat down, still holding the knife. His heart was racing. He had passed the test, but now people wanted him dead. I didn't ask for any of this, he said quietly. You were chosen by the stars, not by us, she replied. Then why does it feel like I'm the enemy? She looked at the soldiers around her. Half of them avoided her eyes. There are whispers in the halls, she said. Some believe the old human prophecy brings destruction, not peace. Jason looked down at the blade. They don't even know me, he said. I'm just some guy from Earth. That is why they fear you, she said. A simple man now holds the power of legends. She walked toward the assassin, who was still breathing. Take him to the cells, she ordered, and question him carefully. 2 guards pulled the attacker away, but Jason saw it. Fear in their eyes. They didn't trust him either. Later that night, Jason stood alone on a balcony high above the alien city. He could see the stars, the moons, and strange glowing lights floating through the air. But he felt small, lost, and hunted. This isn't what I thought space would be like, he said to himself suddenly, a soft voice behind him. You saved my son. Jason turned quickly, startled. A tall alien woman stood there, wearing the armor of a warrior. I was not there, she said. But the others told me, you risked your life to pull him from the fire during the test. Jason nodded. I just did what anyone would do. She shook her head. No, most would have let him burn, but you didn't. She walked closer and kneeled. My name is General Varka, and from this moment, I am loyal to you. Jason's eyes widened. I'm not a king, he said. No, she replied. But you may be something greater. The next day, Jason walked with the Queen through the Hall of Echoes, a chamber filled with living memory crystals. Each one held voices, images, and moments from ancient times. This is the story of the last human who came, she said. A crystal floated in front of them, showing a battle, fire, and a man who looked very much like Jason. He united enemies, destroyed tyrants, and then vanished. Jason stared at the image. That's not me, he whispered. Not yet, the Queen said. A council meeting was called. Jason stood beside the Queen as powerful alien leaders argued in a dozen languages. Some shouted, some whispered, and some just stared at Jason with cold eyes. He is dangerous, one said. He should be exiled. He passed the test, another said. We must honor the ancients. Jason stayed quiet, letting them fight. He wasn't sure what he was anymore. A guest, a god, or a target. Then something unexpected happened. A small, silent alien child walked into the chamber, holding a toy cube. He walked up to Jason and held out the cube. Jason knelt down and touched it. The toy cube lit up, just like the real one did during his test. The room went silent. Even the council leaders stopped breathing for a moment. The Queen stepped forward. You asked for proof, she said. Now you have it. The meeting ended with silence, but Jason knew it wasn't over. Later that night, General Varka met him. In secret, there is movement in the lower levels, she said. Someone is building an army, and it's not loyal to the queen. Jason frowned. How long do we have? Not long, she replied. They move in shadows, but they are fast. Jason looked out over the glowing city again. He never wanted to lead, never wanted to fight in an alien war. But the people here were starting to believe in him, some with hope, others with fear. Either way, he had become something bigger than himself, and the rebellion had already begun. The stars moved, but the map stayed still. Jason stood inside a room made of light, walls spinning slowly with galaxies and ancient symbols. A voice echoed from the center of the chamber, cold and emotionless. Earth no longer exists. Jason's breath caught. The planet he was born on, his home, had been wiped from galactic history, not destroyed, not missing, erased, and somehow no one knew why. Main story begins. Jason stared at the glowing star map. In front of him, the planet Earth was not there, not even a shadow, not even a name. He stepped forward, touching the space where Earth should be, but the hologram only pulsed red. Access restricted, said the machine voice. World designation. Red listed by the Galactic Council. Red listed? Jason asked the Queen, who stood beside him in silence. It means erased from all official memory, she said. As if it never existed. Jason shook his head. I was born there. I had a job, a cat, a life. The Queen's voice lowered. If this is true, then your existence is impossible. Jason turned away from the map, confused and angry. Maybe you've made a mistake, he said. Maybe I'm just from a colony, or a dream. She looked at him, eyes full of ancient sadness. No, she said, the energy in your blood. The reaction to the cube. It matches only one world. Jason sat down on a floating bench near the wall, his hands shaking. I don't understand, he whispered. Why would someone erase Earth? The Queen stepped toward a glowing panel and pressed her hand against it. The room shifted, walls fading into a new scene, a battlefield of stars, black ships clashing with golden ones. It was a memory, alive and moving. This, she said, is the Great Silence. The vision showed a tall man in human armor, leading an army of aliens and machines. They called him the Last Voice, she continued. He came from Earth. And after the war, the planet was gone. Jason watched as the man raised his hand, and a massive energy pulse destroyed an entire enemy fleet. He saved us, she said. But he vanished, and with him your world. Jason leaned forward, eyes fixed on the vision. The Last Voice looked so familiar. Something about the eyes, the posture, felt like looking into a mirror. Was that me? Jason whispered. No, the Queen replied, but maybe a version of you. Jason stood again, walking through the ghost-like memory. I don't remember any of this, he said. Not the war, not the battle, nothing. She nodded. That is what frightens the Council, she said. Your mind holds something locked, something old. Jason looked at her. Then unlock it, he said. If I'm carrying something dangerous, I want to know. There's only one place that can do that, she said. The memory forge, he frowned. That sounds painful. The Queen smiled slightly. It usually is. Scene shift. The memory forge. Jason stood inside a circular room surrounded by glowing rings. Floating lights orbited him like fireflies. Place your hand on the core, said the machines. Voice. Jason hesitated, then touched the center crystal. A surge of energy rushed through him. His body went stiff. His eyes turned white. Suddenly, he wasn't in the room anymore. He was in a burning city, not alien, but human. Buildings collapsing. The sky cracked with purple lightning. People screaming, soldiers fighting, and in the middle of it all, Jason saw himself, or someone like him, older, battle-worn, eyes full of fire. The other Jason looked up, straight at him. Don't let them silence the truth, he said. Earth wasn't destroyed. It was hidden. The vision shattered. Jason dropped to his knees, gasping. The queen rushed forward. "What did you see?" she asked. Jason looked up at her, sweat running down his face. "Earth. It's not gone," he said. "It's out there, hidden from the galaxy. And only I can find it." The queen nodded slowly. "Then that is your path," she said. "But others will try to stop you, and not just the council." Jason stood, stronger now. "No more running," he said. "I need to know the truth." Suddenly, the room darkened. A hologram flickered to life, a message from a council spy. "He knows," the voice said. "He accessed the forge. Kill him before he spreads it." Jason and the queen exchanged a look. "The time for hiding is over," he said. "Then prepare yourself," she replied. "The shadows are moving." Jason stared into his own eyes, same face, same voice, same body. But what stood before him was not him. The man wore black armor, cracked with glowing red lines. His smile was cold, his eyes full of rage. "Finally," the man said, "I've been waiting to kill myself." Main story begins. It happened just after the council attack failed. Jason and General Varka had barely escaped the capital, flying toward a neutral system called Vornis 5. The Queen had sent them in secret, following the memory map hidden inside. "Jason's DNA, this place," Varka said, "holds answers your mind cannot see yet." Jason looked out the ship's window, lost in thought. He had seen a vision of Earth, burning, screaming, vanishing, and he still didn't know if it was the future or the past. The ship landed on the edge of an old alien ruin, half buried in silver sand. Jason stepped out first, his boots crunching softly. Suddenly, the wind stopped, the air went cold, and he heard it. Footsteps, not his, not Varka's. Another figure appeared from the shadows. He wore dark armor and a cloak, his movements smooth and silent. At first, Jason thought it was a trick of the light. But then the man raised his head, and Jason's heart stopped. It was him, same face, same voice, but his eyes. They were wrong, sharp, cruel, and filled with something ancient. Jason stepped back, confused and afraid. "What is this?" he asked. The other one smiled. "I was born from your shadow," he said. "Your weakness gave me life." Varka raised her weapon. But the other Jason waved a hand and blasted her backward without touching her. She hit the sand and didn't move. Jason ran to her, but she was unconscious. He turned to the other one, fists clenched. "You're a clone," Jason said. "Or some kind of trick." "No," the man replied. "I'm the real one. You're the broken copy." Jason felt a strange energy rising in his chest. The same feeling he had during the test. He stepped forward. "Why do you want to kill me?" "Because you're not ready," the other said. "You show mercy. You hesitate. You're weak." Jason stood taller. "And yet, the Queen knelt before me, not you." The clone's eyes flickered with anger. "She was fooled by your smile," he said. "But I'll show them the truth." He charged forward. Faster than anything Jason had ever seen, Jason raised his hands. Just in time, a blue shield appeared, blocking the strike. The shockwave knocked them both back. Jason hit the ground, coughing. The clone laughed. "You're learning," he said. "But not fast enough." Jason looked at the sand. It was glowing under his hand. He focused, thinking of Earth, of the people he left behind, of the child he saved during the test. The ground responded. A beam of energy rose from the ruins, blasting between them. The clone growled and jumped away. Jason stood again, energy pulsing around him. "I don't know what I am," he said, "but I know I'm not like you." The clone's smile faded. "We'll see," he said. "This galaxy is dying, and I plan to rule what's left." He vanished in a flash of black smoke. The sand fell silent again. Jason dropped to his knees, breathing hard. Varka groaned and sat up, holding her head. "What was that?" she asked. Jason looked at the spot where the clone had stood. "That," he said, "was the part of me I left behind." Scene shift. Council war room far away. The council watched the fight through a hidden satellite. "He lives," one said. "But now the other has awakened. They will destroy each other." another replied. Let them. But deep in the shadows, one council member didn't speak. She only stared at the screen with wide, unblinking eyes. We made a mistake, she whispered. He wasn't supposed to survive the split. Scene shift. Back on Vornis 5, Jason walked through the ruins alone, the cube glowing faintly in his pocket. He touched the wall and saw another vision. Earth again. But this time, intact, floating in darkness, silent but alive. And standing on its surface was the clone. Waiting, Jason pulled back, shaking. He's going there, he said. To the real Earth. Varka stood behind him, injured but steady. Then we follow, she said. Jason looked at the sky. I have to face him, he said. Not to destroy him, but to stop what I could become. Asterisk. The sky didn't break. It screamed. 1,000 red lights burned through the black clouds like falling stars. But they weren't stars. They were warships, the forgotten enemy, the one even the council feared. The ones erased from history had returned, and at the front of the fleet was the clone. Main story begins. Jason stood at the edge of the alien city, watching the storm above. Flashes of red lightning lit the horizon, and the air was thick with static. General Varka walked up beside him, her armor already battle-worn. They've come, she said, just like the old legends warned. Jason didn't speak. His mind was full of visions. Earth, the clone, the prophecy he never asked to be part of, and now, a fleet of death hanging above them. He turned to her, voice steady but low. Get everyone underground, he said. I'll buy us time. You are not ready to face them, Varka warned. I don't have time to be ready, he replied. I just have to stand. She nodded and ran to the command center. Shouting orders, Jason walked into the old ruins again, where the cube had first awakened. He placed it on the ground, knelt, and closed his eyes. Show me what I need to become, he whispered. The cube glowed, brighter than ever before. Images flashed in his mind. The last voice, the Queen's vision, the wars of the past. And one message repeated again and again, unite or perish. Scene shift. In orbit above the planet, the clone stood on the bridge of a massive black warship, surrounded by tall, armored beings with empty eyes. They were not alive. They were constructs, soldiers from a dead empire. We begin now, he said. Burn the surface. Missiles launched, beams charged, and the first fire fell from the sky. Scene shift. Back on the planet, Jason opened his eyes just as the sky turned orange. He ran outside, raised his hands, and the cube floated into the air, a glowing shield. Formed across the city, blocking the first blast. Aliens gasped. Looking up from their shelters, Varka saw it from her war table, her eyes wide. He's not defending the city, she said. He's protecting hope. Jason stood tall as the sky rained fire, but none touched the ground. His shield flickered, cracking slightly, but held strong. Varka activated her forces. Ships rose. From the underground hangars, energy cannons loaded. The city was awake now. Not in fear, but in fury. Scene shift. The war begins. The sky was filled with ships, thousands, darting between red and blue light. Jason flew in a small command craft, Varka at his side. This is bigger than us, he said. She nodded. But it started with you. The clone's voice echoed across their coms. You should have stayed hidden, he said. Now you'll die in the light, Jason replied calmly. If I die, at least I'm not running from who I am. The enemy fleet opened fire, and chaos followed. Scene shift. Inside the battle, Jason's ship dodged blasts and tore through enemy lines. He wasn't just flying, he was feeling the battlefield. His instincts guided the movements, as if the cube was inside him now, every time. He shouted a command. It echoed across the fleet. More than a voice, it became a force. Alien warriors followed him without question, rallying under his signal. He wasn't the prophecy anymore. He was the leader. Scene shift. Face to face, Jason landed his ship on a broken asteroid floating in orbit. The clone was already there, waiting. No more armies, no more shields, just the two of them. "You look tired," the clone said. "Protecting people does that to you," Jason replied. They circled each other like wild beasts. "You could have joined me," the clone said. "We were born from the same storm," Jason shook his head. "We may share the same face," he said. "But we chose different fires," they clashed. Light against shadow, memory against rage, the cube glowed again, splitting in two, one piece floating to each of them. Jason's eyes widened. "This ends here," he said. Scene shift. Council chambers far away. The council watched silently. One member finally spoke. "He's becoming something more," she said. "Not human, not alien, something new," another replied. Back to battle. Jason knocked the clone to the ground, the cube pulsing between them. "This isn't about saving Earth anymore," he said. "It's about saving who we could still become." The clone growled, energy crackling around him. "We are weapons," he said. "Nothing more." Jason stepped back, lowering his fists. "That I choose to put mine down." The cube between them stopped glowing and shattered. A blast of white light exploded outward. Final scene. Silence. Jason stood alone on the asteroid, the clone gone, the battle above slowly ending. Ships retreated, systems shut down, and the stars returned to peace. He looked up, tired, but standing. The Queen's voice came through the communicator. "The galaxy saw you today," she said. "And they followed." Jason closed his eyes. "Now we find Earth," he whispered. The stars parted like curtains, and there it was, Earth, not destroyed, not burning, but hidden behind a cosmic veil, untouched by time. Jason stepped onto the soil, green, silent, familiar. And as he looked at the blue sky above him, a voice echoed in his mind. "Now they will remember what it means to be human." Main story begins. The ship hovered silently as it broke through the false clouds. The Queen stood beside Jason, her golden eyes fixed on the blue planet below. "It's beautiful," she said, her voice soft with wonder. Jason didn't speak. He couldn't. His chest ached, his hands trembled after everything. The prophecy, the battles, the tests. He was finally home, but it wasn't the Earth he remembered. The cities were gone, swallowed by nature. The skies were clean, the oceans untouched. It was Earth before history, before war, before everything. The Queen touched the glass window. "This place has been hidden for thousands of years," she said, "by the ancients, to protect it from us." Jason turned to her slowly. "And from me?" he asked. She looked at him with quiet respect. "No," she said, "for you." Scene shift. Landing site. Jason stepped onto the grass barefoot, feeling the cool wind and hearing the rustle of trees. It was like a dream, but too real, too heavy. Varka walked behind him. Soldiers and scientists scanning the air, collecting samples. "This world is alive," she said, "but waiting for something." Jason walked forward, past tall trees and broken stone statues. He followed the pull of the cube, though it was now only a cracked fragment in his hand. The pull led him to a hill, and under it, an entrance, a massive stone gate with human markings, but old, older than anything he had seen. He placed his hand on it, and the stone lit up beneath his skin. The door opened without a sound. Scene shift. The chamber of origin inside the hill was a glowing sphere floating in the center of the room. It pulsed with slow, steady energy, like a heartbeat. The Queen stepped forward, eyes wide. "This is the seed," she whispered. "The origin of the human legacy." Jason walked toward it. As he touched the seed, the entire chamber lit up, walls alive with ancient stories. They showed humans traveling through galaxies, healing planets, ending wars with wisdom. And then silence. One man stood before a great threat and chose to erase Earth to protect its future. That man looked like Jason. Scene shift. Understanding. Jason fell to his knees as the seed poured knowledge into his mind. He saw the truth. Humans were not just from Earth. They were the keepers of balance across stars. The reason the Queen knelt was not because of Jason's power, but because he reminded her of what they had all forgotten. Compassion, sacrifice, unity. He stood slowly, eyes glowing faintly. "I'm not the first," he said. "But I might be the last," the queen nodded. Tears in her eyes. "Then make this world the first again," she said. Scene shift. The message Jason stood before a galaxy-wide broadcast, his voice ready to echo across 1,000 worlds. "This is not a call to war," he said. "This is a call to remember. To remember that strength is not in weapons, but in protecting those who cannot fight. To remember that leadership is not about fear, but about choosing to rise when it's easier to fall. This is Earth," he said, "and we have returned." Scene shift. Galaxies respond across star systems. People watched. Aliens of all shapes and kinds, enemies, allies, strangers, listened in silence. Some knelt, some cried, some began to hope. And in dark corners of the universe, even the coldest hearts paused. Final scene. The Queen's voice. The Queen stood beside Jason, watching the stars. She said, "You reminded us why the ancients chose your kind, Jason." Looked at the horizon, the wind in his hair. "I didn't do it alone," he said, "and I won't." He looked back at the growing city behind him, human and alien side by side. Planting seeds, building homes, sharing stories, Earth had risen. Again, not as a home for one people, but for all.